Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well today. And tonight I kind of want to go and discuss a pretty important topic that important in the sense that it's kind of been on my mind for past couple few days now. I'm watching a lot of different One Piece YouTubers out there. To name a few, I enjoy or somewhat enjoy watching YouTubers like BDA Law, Sensei, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, and then there's King of Lightning, which is fairly interesting to listen to. But I just been listening to their theories and thoughts and things like that, which is all fine and dandy. But I kind of wanted to discuss the topic regarding the whole Yonkos, and I'll talk about Supernovas a little bit later. But I kind of wanted to really focus on like the Yonkos and the Commanders versus Admirals kind of subject because I noticed a lot of some content creators recently have been making videos, and some of them believe that even a Yonko commander like Katakuri can defeat someone like Kizaru, and even though Katakuri is a pretty strong commander, even in the manga and in the anime, Luffy, although he did knock him out, Katakuri kind of allowed him to towards the end. Um, but I think that while I don't think the Admirals are as strong as the Yonkos, per se, like as far as like I don't believe like Akainu himself could defeat Big Mom. I think like of course it'd be a close fight, one on one. Like I think it wouldn't be an easy win for Big Mom, but I think Big Mom could definitely defeat him. And the main reason why I mention like Admirals are not as kind of as far below Yonkos as people think they are is because even in the manga or in the anime or both, actually, we, saw, the fight between Akainu and Whitebeard. And yes, Whitebeard was sick and he was about to die and things like that, so, I mean, you could say that, well, it's kind of unfair to use Whitebeard as an example. Nonetheless, Whitebeard was still the strongest man in the world, um, and in the sense that, even though he, had gotten older and he was sick and things like that, I mean, his, one of his most powerful attacks were just, like, slams Akainu and just kind of breaks, like, the realm of reality, like glass. Like, that's still a pretty powerful attack. Now, I wouldn't, given how sick he was, I wouldn't say it would be as powerful as maybe, like, for example, Big Mom's most powerful attack, or maybe uh, Kaido's most powerful Thunder Bagua, but it was still a pretty decent impact. And I just think that, to me, like, I feel like, because I'm trying to see how I could compare Sick Whitebeard to, like, someone like, for example, like Big Mom or Kaido. Definitely think Kaido and Big Mom would have definitely been able, at least in my opinion, to defeat a Sick Whitebeard. As far as how difficult it would have been for them, if Whitebeard was kind of in the same mentality, it would have still have been tough for them as it was for Sakazuki. But I think but Big Mom and Kaido would have won against Sick Whitebeard. So I think. But there was another thing I kind of wanted to mention regarding. There was a comment Kizaru made a while back in the manga and anime where, whenever the report went about Big Mom and Kaido joining forces, Kizaru nonchalantly, said, do you want me to handle this, Sakazuki? And even though, like, I personally think, half the time, Kizaru's kind of a little bit out of his out there, so to say. I mean, I'm sure he at least has some semblance of the danger present. So I'm not saying like I don't believe that Kizaru would have been able to defeat Big Mom and Kaido together, and I don't even think he would have been able to beat either of them one on one. But he could have definitely at least given them like quite a bit of trouble, especially if he if he brought like more forces in and things like that. But no, it's just something interesting to note. Kizaru could also potentially actually be stronger than Ake, but actually doesn't show it. I've kind of thought about that for a while. That for whatever reason, Kizaru has kind of been holding back his true power, so to say, and because we never see him really fight seriously. I mean, he sort of fought somewhat seriously against Star King Rayleigh back in Sabayoti, but I mean, and then he also fought against Marco, but I mean, most of the time, like he really wasn't that serious, to be honest. I mean, it could also be his personality as well, but I yeah. Now, do I think any of the Yonko commanders alone could defeat an admiral? No. Just because, I mean, even someone like Katakuri, I know a lot of people mention Katakuri, or like some people mention King as well. But even with them fighting someone like Fujitora, I think maybe if Katakuri, you know, I'm trying to think like. I think if he were to win against Fujitora, it would have to be an extreme a difficulty fight, just because it's just like one of those things where it kind of reminds me of like one Luffy. I'm trying to think of an extreme difficulty fight. It's kind of like, well, in some ways, I kind of think like Luffy versus Enel was kind of extreme difficulty because the only reason why Luffy was able to kind of win in that fight, at least from my memory, is because of his resistance to lightning, and it's just like that. Like I'm like it's just like I just think like in my opinion, like the Admirals are a bit underrated at times. Now, I also sometimes think they can be overrated as well because, like, I've heard some people say, well, a Yonko cannot defeat an admiral or things like that. I've heard it the other direction as well, and I don't believe that either. I still think the Yonkos are slightly stronger than the admirals, but just the margin isn't as big as people would think, at least in my opinion. And again, like the Whitebeard example, you can use it, but again, he was like pretty sick, and even though he got enraged, I mean, he was still he was about to collapse. So, but yeah, so that's my personal thoughts, and so moving on from the Yonkos and Yonko commanders a little bit, I'm gonna talk about the Supernovas, and most recently, the fight between Trafalgar Law and Eustace Kid versus Big Mom, where they essentially, you know, they weren't able to technically defeat her, but they were strong enough to at least knock her out. Now, if we instead of like Big Mom, like let's say Trafalgar and Kid fought against Kizaru now. Do I think they could win? Well, the thing is, like, I think Law and Kid had a really good matchup against Big Mom because she doesn't have the best dodging capabilities, and she's not the fastest character. She does have like really powerful like defenses and really good endurance, as you could see in the manga. Um, I think that like Law was kind of able to take advantage of kind of getting through her defenses with his fruit, as well as Kid having like that big. I know a lot of people make fun of Kid, but at least recent as of late. But he actually worked pretty well with Law in the sense of as soon as Law was able to really kind of breach through her defenses and even like do a wee bit of damage like to her eternal defenses. Kid was able to do what he could, like with the railgun or with the ox kind of attack, to do a fair amount of damage as well. Now, do I think they would have been able to do the same to Kizaru? So the thing is, even though I personally think like on a one, like I know some people say otherwise, but on a one-to-one like match, I think even with Big Mom being handicapped, I still think she would be able to beat someone like Kizaru. As far as Kid and Law versus Kizaru, I think if they were to win, it would probably be a very high difficulty fight because Kizaru is one of the fastest characters in One Piece, and even though like Law, has ways to reach through the fences, he first has to be able to somehow find a way to actually hit Kizaru. Um, and yeah, I just think because like even though Law and Kid defeated or knocked out Big Mom and sort of got the W or the win, as far as them versus Kizaru, I think they could almost do it, but would have to be like something there in play that would really kind of push them over the edge to overcome Kizaru. So I think it'd be close, but I don't like it would yeah. Just because of his speed mainly. Like I think if it was Akainu, I think they could actually overcome him. So well, it still would be a very high difficulty fight, but I think they could overcome him because Akainu is, at least from what I've seen of in the anime and the manga, he's a fair bit slower than someone like Kizaru. So I think they could win against Sakazuki, but it would be a very high difficulty. Um, yeah, but against Kizaru, I just don't think it's a good matchup. Just well, at least because of his speed. I mean, again, they could maybe find a way to do it, but those are my thoughts on it. And I think like out of all the admirals, like the one we've seen in action the most, at least, that's really kind of revealed most of his power has been Sakazuki. So I think he's a little bit easier to scale than Kizaru is, at least in my opinion. Now Fujitora, like let's go like with Luffy now. In the latest chapter, he was knocked out by Kaido, which happened. But it seems like he might actually be getting revived and maybe getting a new form. Like, some people were speculating Gear 5th and things like that. Now, as far as Luffy pre, potential Joy Boy revival, could Luffy, before he was knocked out by Kaido, could he defeat someone like, for example, Fujitora? I think with all the all the training and all the kind of advances in hockey both observation and armament Luffy has made. I think he'd be. I think he, with what he's doing to Kaido, I think he would be very, very close at 1v1ing Fujitora. I think it'd be very high difficulty still, just because, again, I just think like the Admirals are a little bit more, generally a little bit more underrated at times. And, you know, Fujitora has those meteors and things like that. That could be very devastating. Um, and Luffy does have Snake Man now, and his Hockey now is getting close to the level of Yonko, kind of advanced armament. So yeah, I think Luffy could beat like someone like Fujitora, but it'd definitely be very high difficulty. Now, could he 1v1 someone like Sakazuki? I would say almost. I think maybe once Luffy gets his power up, or seemingly his new power up here in the next chapter or so, then I think he could defeat Sakazuki. But I think as of now, he'd get close to it like he was with Kaido, but I don't know. Like, even though I talk about Yonkos being stronger than Admirals, in my opinion they are, I still think it would be. I think Luffy, even with advanced armament, he could defeat someone like Akino. 1v1 would probably be like extreme difficulty. Like I think it'd almost be like a Luffy versus like Rob Lucci, where yeah, or like even with the improvements, like Lucci still has the edge, but then Luffy eventually through sheer willpower gets the win. So I think Luffy could defeat Akaino as he is now, but it'd be a very difficult fight for sure, even more difficult than Fujitora in my opinion. Um, yeah, but yeah, I think the upgrade's going to be very, very powerful. Just because, and the reason why I mentioned about Luffy even now with all his upgrades, still having a lot of trouble with the Admirals, is because even though he's fighting like Kaido and things like that, um, it's because like I remember watching a scene in the anime where, and it might be in the manga too, where like Luffy was training with Rayleigh, and Luffy, actually used Gear Fourth against Rayleigh. Now I don't think it was Snake Man, it was Bounce Man, I think, but even in Bounce Man, like the form that put Doflamingo down, and even to an extent like put like a Yonko commander down, like Cracker. Rayleigh was still able to easily handle that form of Luffy. Now, it was one of the first times like he used Gear Fourth, but still, you know, when you compare that to Rayleigh struggling with like Kizaru, it kind of gives you an idea of how much Luffy would need to improve to breach that gap. Now, could Luffy defeat someone like Rayleigh now? I think so. It'd still be a high difficulty fight because even with the advanced armament and the feature sight and things like that, I still think, with the experience Rayleigh has, I still think it'd be a very difficult fight. But I think I could see Luffy, even before his new transformation, could still stand up against Rayleigh. Um, yeah. Um, and then as far as like, so I know I keep talking about Luffy, and I've mentioned Law and Trafalgar. I mean, not Trafalgar Law and Kid. But someone like, for example, like Zoro, I've seen like a lot of debates where even though Zoro defeated King, he would still not be able to defeat someone like Katakuri. I think, like, I know a lot of people sometimes say like that Zoro is like overestimated by a lot of individuals, but at the same time, like I watched the anime recently, and it might have been in the manga too, but Zoro's advanced or Zoro's Conqueror's Hockey kind of gave Queen like he's pretty shocked. So now I know some people say like Katakuri's stronger than King and things like that, but I think while I do think Katakuri is stronger than Queen, I kind of see Katakuri even though like I don't think King has future sight, at least well, I don't remember seeing it from him, but um, I think they're like a little bit closer than what people say, just because I mean, cause like even like for example, like when Luffy kind of defeated Katakuri in Whole Cake Island, that same Luffy was pretty much knocked out pretty effortlessly by Kaido's base form before getting the training, that helped him become a lot more powerful. So and then like Zoro also I think also got advanced hockey as well. Um, so yeah, I don't I think King and Katakuri are a lot closer than what people think. So I think Zoro, even though Katakuri has future sight, I think he could potentially beat Katakuri, but it'd be like a very high difficulty fight, kind of like with King. Um, yeah, it definitely wouldn't be an easy win for Zoro, but it could go either way, honestly. Because Katakuri, he kind of gave Luffy the win at the end, even though Katakuri exerted himself quite a bit. I think it could go either way, but then again, like the fight between Zoro and King could have gone either way as well. I mean, right now Zoro is almost like on death's bed in a way, so yeah. At least that's what I personally think, though. I and then um, Sanji defeated Queen, and I definitely think Sanji could now defeat someone like Doflamingo. I mean, he did clash with Doflamingo in Dressrosa, and he still held his own to a fair extent. So I think even with Doflamingo's awakening, Sanji could still defeat Doflamingo. I think it'd be like mid to high difficulty, but I also think that Doflamingo, it's like I know some people try to say like he's pretty like he I've heard like different Reddit posts about him, like I think even going against like Katakuri or King or things like that, but I think like I mean I kind of think he's like slightly below Cracker, because Luffy had like a lot more trouble. I mean, again, it's a different matchup, but he still had a lot more trouble defeating Cracker with Gear Force than he did with Doflamingo. Or it took him a lot longer, at least, the fight did. Um, and he also had help from Nami, which was nice. Um, but no, I think Sanji could beat Doflamingo now. Um, yeah. Be mid to high difficulty for sure, I think. And then you know what? It'd be nice if we eventually get some more info on Mad Monk or Rouge, because we have gotten some info about him, like, about him fighting. I think he defeated a commander below Cracker, and we've seen him on Sky Island a bit, but out of all the Supernovas, I mean, other than maybe Jewelry Bonnie, we haven't really gotten much info on him recently. So Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they flesh out his character anymore. It'll be also interesting too if Enel or Enryu, like, he eventually comes back down to the earth, because I think Oda mentioned something about Enel, if he had a bounty, like even when he fought Luffy, it would be like half a billion or something. So it'd put him right around like Doflamingo's level, which makes sense. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Could Enel defeat Doflamingo, or could Doflamingo beat Enel? Um, it'd be a very close fight. Thing is, Enel, at least when he fought against Luffy, he was a bit arrogant. But I think after his training on the moon, I think I don't know. I think it might change his. Yeah, I think like if he fought again, of course he would hopefully learn from his mistakes. So I think he could. I don't know. It'd be a very close fight, I think. Yeah, it'd be a very close fight, I think. Um, but I definitely do think someone like Jack could defeat Enel even without his resistance, like Luffy's rubber, just because of Jack's endurance. And I also think like Katakuri could defeat Enel as well. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to share some of those thoughts, just see what you guys think, and yeah, I just figured it'd be good to share, get some of those thoughts out. Anyways, guys, hope you all take care. Peace.